Elisheva Gilbert, Group Head of Marketing and Communications at Sasfin. We have partnered with SME Africa to produce a series of videos to assist SMEs with various challenges they are facing during COVID-19 pandemic and resultant lockdown. In this, the second in the series, we talk about collecting debt and managing cash flow, which for some may seem like a daunting task. Eli, Vusi, and Mariska discuss ideas around how to reduce expenses and to make money go further during these tough times.
So the first step in the process is to make sure that your admin is 100% up to date. We've heard of those horror stories where someone's invoiced a big business and they put the wrong date on the invoice, and because of that they weren't paid, or it was addressed to the wrong person in the wrong department. If for whatever reason you're not managing to get hold of that person, try then and escalate upwards, or try find another contact inside of that business, but make sure that you can get hold of someone to ensure that your invoice has reached the right person, and to make sure that you try and get on those payment runs as soon as possible. If you have made contact and you're still struggling and the big businesses turn around to you and say, listen, we're not paying, the next step in the process is to try and offer a settlement discount. At this point in time, everyone's trying to preserve cash flow. And maybe by you offering a settlement discount, it will ensure then that your invoice gets paid timeously. The next one, or the third one, as a potential would be is to try to discount that invoice to other financing houses. Now, there's a lot of different options out there. Our suggestion would be is to go to a funding aggregator like a fundinghub.co.za and see if one of those finance houses has a product that potentially could suit you. As lockdown eases slightly, there's going to be two pressing needs in terms of purchases that they're probably going to need to do. So one is they are going to need to purchase additional stock if they're going to want to start trading again. And the other thing is now that there's quite an onerous set of new health and safety regulations. So the average small business, if they are allowed to trade, is going to need, all the new PPE equipment, the thermometers and the sanitizers and a whole host of other things. And that obviously comes in an expense. And we all know now that people's cash reserves are completely burnt up. So they are going to probably need some form of assistance. The ideal product is most likely a trade finance product. The reason I say that is that it's a short-term solution for your funding needs for your stock. So what exactly is trade finance? Trade finance allows a small business to utilize a finance house to pay a supplier on their behalf and then get the extended repayment terms. That'll allow you to at least start trading in the interim and start selling, get the cash in, and then in a month or two, start repaying back. And potentially where you could have access to this kind of product is, the first place is to speak to your suppliers. You'd be surprised at how many solutions they have. Either they'd be prepared to give you extended repayment terms now because they're also quite happy that you're starting to sell again. Second is again to go and look at an aggregation website like fundinghub.co.za, specify a product like trade finance and see what options are made available to you. And then finally, this is exactly what Payable does do, is we offer an online trade finance solution where small businesses can request that we settle suppliers on their behalf, and they could access that by going on to payable.co. You know that at the end of the day, what happens in your personal life is sometimes reflective in your business and vice versa. So the first step in the process is to go through in your personal expenses and your business expenses with a fine-tooth comb, all variable expenses that you can try and get rid of. You really need to be on top of your admin at this point in time, because every rand that's going out that you can't account for is another rand that could have gone to either pay your rent or your supply. So the first suggestion is that you really, really need to make sure that you're on top of your expenses, and anything that potentially can be pushed out, you pushed out. The second thing is, if you are in the unfortunate position where you're just not getting enough cash in, but you have those obligations that you need to pay to your creditors at the end of the month, the most important thing is to come up with repayment arrangements if you can't afford what you currently owe, and then try your best to stick to them. And if it's a matter of paying a lot of small amounts to as many people as possible, try and do that just to keep the ecosystem going. And again, everyone realizes that we are in an incredibly unique situation. So don't be scared to pick up that phone.
Obviously we've got to start with changing the mentality, first of all, from basically thriving to surviving more than anything at this stage. So that just looks at, what are our biggest expenses can we cut on any of those expenses? Can we delay any of those expenses? So that's something that we've done. We've looked at, basically delaying some of our expenses or trying to cut them down if possible. So we've had to chat to our landlord, we've had to chat to some of our suppliers just to give us a little bit of a break. I think that's probably the best place to start. And then obviously look at how we can structure going forward for, obviously the month of April being the toughest month. We've had to look at, changing things up in terms of payments of all those expenses. And also looking at, how our suppliers or our customers are paying us, where you've got corporates on your books, obviously you're going to be quite affected in terms of how they decide to pay you out for this current month. So we've been talking to a lot of them, negotiating how we can move forward. That's more or less how we've been managing it. Because we manufacture products such as home decor products and furniture products, we have to hold quite a lot of stock on hand of raw material. So when the shutdown basically came into effect, we had to figure out how we were going to be able to quickly use up what we had sitting in our stock, and also just basically how to finance it. And the best way to do that, I suppose, as most businesses are doing, is to try and secure sales now ahead of time, and also to bring out new products to attract new business. So what we've done is we've launched an all-new furniture range, an office furniture range, which is basically focused on working from home. I think that's where all of our minds have to go now. So essentially with that, we've been able to create all of these products virtually. So we don't have to do a photo shoot for them. We just do 3D renders, virtual images of these products, and be able to secure some sales from that, which has been great so far. And, it doesn't stop there, because within that creativity, we've brought in the whole augmented reality side of things, so people can actually see the products in their home. And essentially, I think every business needs to start thinking like that. Forget about, people coming to you. You've got to go to your customers and find a way to do that digitally, so that obviously you can continue your business as usual.
The first thing that is really important to understand is that there is a major difference between your business profit and its cash flow. Profit is merely an indication of the business revenue less the costs. In other words, the remainder of revenue after you deducted all your costs. Cash flow, on the other hand, is the amount of money flowing in and out of your business at any given time. And it is really important to bear in mind that even though your business is booming in terms of bottom line and profit, you can run into cash flow difficulties if this is not managed efficiently. And especially now with lockdown and the COVID-19 outbreak, where many businesses have come to a complete standstill, cash flow pressures can and will most likely be felt by the majority of businesses. So when looking at options to manage your cash flow during this period, I think the first thing to do is to look into government's relief funds, such as SMME and the claiming of salary expenses from the UIF's TERS fund. It is really important, however, to bear in mind that certain funds, such as the SMME, is in fact a loan, and that repayments thereof should be considered carefully for the foreseeable future. Another option is looking into payment holidays available from the South African banks for debt payments that fall due during this time. It is always a wise decision to chat to your bank about such possibilities, but bearing in mind the costs, such as interest, that will go along with payment holidays. And then you can also have an honest and open conversation with your suppliers and ask them what payment options are available to your business to assist your cash flow during this time. And then lastly, I think also the most important, is to ensure that your customer collections are managed efficiently during this period, especially for goods and services that were delivered prior to lockdown that has in fact fallen due in the lockdown period. Chat to your customers and have an open and honest relationship to show your support to them during this time, as it really is difficult for everyone. But also to ensure that your company's debtors are collected in a timely manner, while still nurturing your relationship with your customers, seeing as you will be really dependent on them after this period. One tip that I would have, and that I generally don't think a lot of business owners give attention to, is to incentivize your customer for paying you either early or making some sort of payment during lockdown time, and giving them that discount and encouraging them to pay you during this time where you really can use the cash in your business. obviously there's quite a number of expenses, and it would all be linked to a business specific, but the very first thing that comes to mind is specifically looking into something like your office expenses that you can suspend for this period of time as your office is not being used. A few options that can come to mind is having a conversation with your internet service provider, asking them if they can reduce your fees during this time. A lot of big companies have office equipment that gets serviced on a regular basis, weekly or bi-weekly. Maybe you can stop this service as your office isn't being used. And then another option is, are you paying for parking bays at your office premises? No one is using it at this time as your office is closed. Maybe have a chat with your landlord and see if you can suspend these payments up until the time that your office reopens. We created a really easy cash flow template for our clients over here at the Bean Counter. And we decided to make that template public by adding it onto the link at the bottom of this video. You're more than welcome to download it, and if you need any assistance, get in touch with us or contact your accountant to assist you with this template.
We hope that the content was insightful and thought-provoking and gave you a number of ideas about what you could be doing in your business. As a summary, Ellie said to us, ensure that your books are up to date and you know exactly when, how much, and who to contact when money is due to you. It appears that this is something really obvious, but things do get lost in the system. Vusi shared the idea that you need to change your mindset from thriving to surviving. You need to list your big expenses and see if you are able to reduce these or if you are able to delay payment. You actually have to forget about clients coming to you. You have to go to your clients and find a way of doing that digitally. And he demonstrated that it is possible to pivot your business if you use this time effectively. Mariska had some interesting ideas in that she said look into government relief funds, look into payment holidays available from SA banks, and consider incentivizing your customers to pay you early when you really can use the cash flow in your business. And a very interesting idea is to continue to nurture your customer relationships, as you will be dependent on them after the lockdown period. We hope that you found the content useful and that it provided some food for thought in terms of reducing expenses and making money work for you. Stay home and stay safe. Thank you for joining us.